Let's go! Welcome to the show. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here with me, cause it's Project Open Mic. Let's have a good show tonight. Let's get the topic straight. Let's get things good. Let's do everything that we should. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. Let's open our minds and take out our style. Let's see what's going on in the world tonight. It's Project Open Mic. Let's have a good show tonight. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. It's Project Open Mic. Let's have a good show tonight. It's Project Open Mic. Let's get the show off right. It's Project Open Mic. Let's have a good show tonight.
What is going on, everybody? This is your boy, like the one half, and take for Project Open Mic. So yes, got so much stuff going on right now, as a lot of things have been. the world and topical topics, of course. So, again, thank you everybody out there for joining in to this platform. It's a lot. Again, if you go to YouTube, subscribe, share the video. The same thing for Twitch. The same thing for Facebook. The same thing for Temper FM. You now, Nico, live now. Try to get on the every choice has a trade-off. There's no one choice to fit everything. You have to trade off something for something else. It's not an easy cut and dry thing, and he's correct about that. And that's one of the things I'm talking about. So, I am, look, I'm on outset. I am for renewable energy, right? I am for renewable energy. I want us to be, because again, oil or petrol or natural gas is infinite. It's gonna run out. When it's gonna run out, nobody knows, but it's gonna happen. So, I have no problem that we need to talk about the future. But you see, the problem is people are talking about the future of stuff in the most messed up ways. Yes, we have climate change, which I believe in, to Facebook and YouTube and maybe Spotify, because I believe in it. Okay, I do believe in climate change, because the climate never stops; it always changes. But I do believe in climate change. And I do believe that there's some stuff going on that human has caused. There's no way that we driving all these cars and trucks and planes and stuff, and we're not contributing to carbon dioxide to the planet. I know that. I'm not against that. I'm not denying that. So we know that situation. So I understand it, and I totally get where that's coming from. But I think we have people, just like with politics, we have the extreme ends, and it's not helping the cause. We need a nice medium balance in this, because as I said multiple times in my past shows, I've said we're not getting, when President Biden said we're going to get rid of oil using oil for, we're not. Let's be honest, that's not going to happen. Okay, I can tell you that right now, it's not going to happen. We use oil for too many things, not only do we use oil for energy, not only do we use oil to give us gas, we also use oil in the mic. I don't know if you can see here the mic styrofoam. Oil's in here. Plastic. Oil is all the plastic. I have multiple plastic. We use oil in rubber as well too. We use oil in a lot of petrol in a lot of stuff. So we're not going to not use it. We're going to keep on factoring it. That's for sure. But there's a grown and logical way we should be talking about this, but not going in the alarmist way that a lot of people have been doing. Scaring little kids right now to think that the world's going to end in 12 sorry, not 12 years, because it was in 9 years. I think it's unconscionable for what grown adults have done to that. That should not be done at all. But right now, it is just ridiculous of all the, how should I put it, like, it is the extremes. I'm trying to use the words the right way. It is the extremes, but it is not the way that people is claiming it should be. Because everybody has a narrative, which I'm going to share a narrative tonight. I'm not going to stand. I've told many people before. There's no such thing as unbiased. Really, there isn't. Everybody has their biases. I have my biases as well too. But I think I have no problem telling people about saying what my bias is, and hopefully people could help me with stuff. We have too many situations that we try to control as humans. And I think for me, a lot of humans try their best to, I don't know, they try their best to think that they could control everything. And that's not how it works. Because back in the 80s, a lot of people, for you not know, you can Google this and go back. Back in the 80s, people were more worried about, they were more worried about global cooling, or the world's getting too cold, everything like that. Those kind of situation was coming up. Now we have global warming. And I've seen commercials where people are like, maybe we'll find a way to global cool. I'm like, we going back and forth. That's not helping the situation. And again, we're going from one extreme to the other extreme. That's why I said I believe in climate change because of the situation of how that was said. But to go from global cooling, then global warming, then now you want to go global cooling again, it's not working out. And I think that is the arrogance of human beings. We think that we could do all that. Well, technically speaking, we sometimes, as people will say, we cause that problem. We're gonna cause the other one. Like, and I also want to state this: a lot of people do not talk about. Okay, let me put it this way. I don't want to sound repetitive all the time, but let me put it this way. We talk about U.S. need to come down on their carbon emissions, and we do all kind of crazy stuff for that, and we need to talk about that. I said, okay, I get you on that. But then, my question to a lot of people is, why we never talked about other countries? Why we never talk about other countries? A lot of people got angry that former President Trump, had put us out of the Paris Accord. Again, I have videos showing what the Paris Accord is. It's literally just a paper that basically signed for no reason because trees or whatever. As we see with the Ukraine Russia, the Belarus treaty that we have, Belarus or Budapest, the treaty that we had with USA back in the day when Ukraine had the third largest stockpile of nuclear weapons, and we told Ukraine, hey, we're gonna give us your stockpile because you guys got a lot of radicals going on, whatever. Give us a stockpile and we'll protect you from Russia. As you can see, piece of paper, and you can see did not work. Just saying. It did not work in that regard. So let's talk about the Paris Accord when we got pulled out of it, and of course President Biden put it back in. The top 3 polluters on this planet, they signed the accord, and nobody's making headway to talk about them. China is the top polluter in the world. Then right behind them is India. Then right behind them is Russia. And they all 3 countries signed the accord. But they're producing 10 times more than what America is producing. We have 350 million people in America, roughly whatever. China has 1.4 billion. India has 1.1 billion, and yeah, and you think they surpass us, and they're not, and I mean even China's middle class, where people driving cars, planes, all that stuff. Come on. But that's what I said. We're going to talk about this logical and as grown adults. Okay? So that part stuns me. I have no problem again cutting carbon emissions as best as we can. Alright? One of the best ways we could do that is literally, and again, in America we do this. We do create tree farms. We do plant. I forgot what it's called. It's a specific term of how you farm trees to do paper and all that stuff. We use trees for lumber and everything. I forgot what it is. Apologize for that. But they plant trees, or they use certain type of ways so the trees can grow. I wish I had a video. That's what I should have had up tonight, and I'm sorry. I got so much videos up to show. I apologize for that. So, but it is a way that we have done that in America. We have done that in Canada. We're not doing that in China. We're not doing that in Russia. We're not doing that in India. We're not doing that in certain parts of Brazil. Some parts of Brazil are doing it, but I can't give up. It's like some do it and some don't. And in other countries as well too, they don't. So that's the part I kill. Planting more trees would be better. That's because trees, grass, plants use carbon, so that's the way to keep that going. But again, and don't get fooled by as you will see, don't get fooled by politicians, and rich people too. They don't care. Majority of rich people do not care. There are few of those who have hearts, and I understand it, because not all rich people are bad, and not all poor people are good. Okay? There are few rich people who are good, but there's a lot of bad ones. So, and you gotta watch out for a lot of, hopefully this video don't get censored. I did do a video on YouTube a while back, and they struck it down, and of course, because I was talking about this. So let's hope that it doesn't go that far this time. Okay, I'm being temporal in my words, but again, I'm talking like a grown adult. We got to get a handle on this conversation about our energy prices or stuff. Long story short, gas prices is going up. We know that because we stopped getting gas in America. We stopped producing our own oil, which we have tons and tons of oil. Right now, President Biden is basically taking out the emergency reserve, which is a stupid idea in my opinion. Okay, you do that we need it, which is only about 4 days of gas for America, really. He's pumping it out to bring the market down a little bit, which is why he's the first president that would do this, which is stupid in my opinion, but whatever. And we stopped getting oil from Russia. Okay, I have no problem with that, but we're still seeking to go to the OPEC and Venezuela and Iran for oil, where we could produce our own oil. We were net producers under the Trump administration, and now we're back to not doing that under the Biden administration. Again, just telling the truth right here. Okay, you can go and look this up yourself. You don't trust me, which is understandable. Go and do the research yourself. Most of the time, I always say when I do this show because a lot of people don't have the time to research like I do, or listen to stuff, interested in podcasts and stuff like that to bring up these things. All right. Also, like I said with the YouTube thing, it was on my Google. We do have censorship going on because they want to keep this narrative going on, which I don't understand that. Let's just be honest with each other. The more honest with each other, the better we can find a solution to help go away. I myself have, like I said, we need a mix. I think we need a mixture economy. We need gas, we need oil, we need natural gas, we need renewable, we need geothermal, hydro, the nuclear, which is funny. Not a lot of people talk about nuclear, which is the least. Is the toxin dangerous? Yes. But is it the most cleanest out of all the stuff which you could control? It is as well, but nobody talks about nuclear power because they get scared by certain things. Yes, but there's no problem. Like I said, just like we had an earthquake in Fukushima, nothing happened this time, compared to the one that happened last time, which is good. I think they learned a lesson. Human beings are something that is weird, and I always said this before. A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from others' mistakes. That's the way we should do stuff. We see what Japan did. We see what they're doing. They didn't have a nuclear thing like Chernobyl or a Chernobyl or anything like that. So that was run by bad management. Okay, that was run by bad management. So I just want to set up all this stuff. It sounds boring. I'm sorry, but again, if we have adult talk, I want to set up all this stuff so we're gonna have a conversation about this. So the first audio I want to play is from Sky News talking about the censorship of being adults, telling the truth. So I want to bring that up so you guys can listen and partake into. Give me 1 second here. Like I said, one-man show. So I gotta do stuff. And what's that? Oh, that was not it. And also trying to see some stuff here. Maybe I need to figure it out. Let me back it out a little bit. Okay. I'm trying a new program so my face don't be right up in y'all faces. Okay, let's see if that works right there. I'll go with that. Let's go with that. let's go with that right there. And let's talk about a situation going on. The first situation we'll talk about how we don't talk about this like the grown adults.
Dr. Roy Spencer. Dr. Spencer, thank you so much for your time. First, can you tell us a little bit about your temperature measurements? There are 5 main ones around the world. What makes yours special and what have you found?
Well, the global temperature data set that John Christie and I started over 30 years ago, the advantage to it is that it's from satellites and it covers the whole Earth. There's no other temperature data set that covers the whole Earth. So that's one of the things we like about it. It only goes back to 1979, so we can only talk about how much warming there has been in the last 43 years in that data set. But that is the period when it was supposed to be warming the most.
And I want to point out something as well. Here's another thing, another arrogance of human beings. The arrogance of human beings in this situation is this. Excuse me. Is that we've been on this planet for a certain amount of time, understandably. But we also have only been recording data as much as we can. We want to go back to a certain set point of data points in a recording of heat, hurricanes, all kind of stuff. Right? We only could do that. So a lot of people like to take just a few the data set that we have, as he just said, back to the 70s. Some people like hurricanes back into early 1900s. Like, oh, this is more hurricanes. We have not been. The data has not been around, and we don't have. Okay, the data has not been around enough. 1 and 2, big enough. A data pool big enough so we can really predict a lot of stuff. We don't. There's so many things that messes with the Earth and with the atmosphere, which I'll get again talk about. But let the good doctor keep going.
And what have you found with that the warming? What sort of warming have we had? Is it in line, for instance, with the predictions from the climate models of 10, 15, 20 years ago that we face a climate crisis with very dangerous rises already in the planet's temperature?
Well, if we do a comparison, an apples to apples comparison between the satellite measurements, which are actually of a fairly deep layer of the atmosphere, okay? That's where most of our weather occurs, is in the troposphere, the lowest part of the atmosphere. And if we do an apples to apples comparison between the satellite measurements and what over 24 climate models have predicted since 1979, for that same layer, our measurements are actually at the bottom end of all those models. In other words, the warming we see is lower than most, if not all, of those models. So there is a discrepancy between what the observations are showing, which shows about an average of 0.13 degrees C per decade warming, which is, a very small number, compared to the climate models, which are generally, twice that at least.
In fact, your latest model, and that, taking into account the depressing effects of El Nino and all that, shows a warming for January of 0.03 above the 30-year average. But your kind of measurements have been upsetting to people that want us to believe there's a climate emergency happening, climate crisis, existential. And Google has now demonetized your site, claiming it makes unreliable and harmful claims. Which claims have they told you are unreliable and harmful?
Well, they're not specific about what claims. They're basically, it says what their website tells me is that all of my whole website basically is unreliable and harmful claims, which is ironic because when Google announced late last year that they were going to start demonetizing climate skeptic websites, they talked about websites that promoted that it was a hoax, which I never say, that there's no warming occurring, which I never say, that there is warming occurring.
Which I also say Facebook and Google and Spotify. Like I said, I'm with the doctor right here. I'm not saying it's not happening. I said up at the beginning of the video. Okay, we never said that. Okay, I believe that like I said, humans have contributed to the warming of the earth with carbon monoxide. Yes, I'm not denying it.
That say that the warming isn't partly due to humans. And I do say, I think the warming we have measured, which isn't very strong, is probably at least 50% due to humans. I can't prove that. It's just the theory, the global warming theory.
And that's the point I wanted to hit on right there, because a lot of people always, this is what I always say about the atmospheric thing. So yes, coal plants, burning of fire, shrubs for land. I mean, we've done it for years. Steam power, all that stuff that we have done, human. I like what you said, 50%. Okay, I could work with that. But what about? Because people always talk about the warming of the water, not the water, the water currents and all that stuff and everything, because salt water's more fresh water's getting in there. Also, what's changed currents is below the earth, the tectonic plates move, earthquakes. That might create a way to move as well too. Nobody talks about that. Few people do, but nobody talks about that. Volcanoes. Go to the Indonesia, where a lot of volcanoes right now are popping off. They release tons and tons of carbon and other stuff into the atmosphere. That also, what can we do about that? We can't do nothing about that. That's the earth doing its thing, just like with earthquakes and the tectonic places. We just had the thing in Japan with the earthquake this morning. I mean, well, yeah, in our time, in American time. What can we do about that? Solar winds from the sun also affects our climate. We're not the main cause of it. It's a combination of humans and also the stuff that naturally is done by the earth. That's the thing. But nobody talks about the outside. I always talk about the human. Okay. I'm not denying that the human has caused that. I've said that multiple times in this podcast itself. But we gotta look at certain humans, like I said, certain countries. That's why I brought the whole countries of India and China and Russia and stuff like that. In all good accounts. There's other countries out there that don't tell us what they're doing with their energy sources, and they're probably just as bad as it is. You can go to Google and go to YouTube and just type in the most toxic waters and all that stuff. Most of the toxic waters are in Asia and in Europe. The Blue Lagoon, very toxic. It looks like a picturesque thing. You go by that, you actually dropping that, you're dead. It looks beautiful or whatever. I wonder if I could. Let me see if I could show it. I know from audio people that you can't, but I just want to make sure. See if I'm making sure I said the right thing. Okay. Yep. I'll just put it right here. Hopefully they give me a nice little picture of it. That look like a picturesque. That look like if I'm from the Caribbean. That looks like it's from the Caribbean on the screen right there. But it's toxic as heck. Why would you do that? A man being caught swimming in a lagoon that is actually actual toxic waste dump, despite police filling it with black dye to put people off. The man who has not been named said to have abused fire by nearby for decided to take a dip in the water, which is full of toxic chemicals from a quarry. The site in Braxton is also said to have full animal carcasses, excrement, and even rusting car floating beneath the surface. Surface. Something's wrong with this man. Oh my goodness, it's so crazy. I'm just going to see what happened to the guy because that is not something good. Group blah, 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 blah. Open water says inquiry remains cold no matter how hot the water is. This means your bike can quickly go into cold water shock, causing the heart. That's weird. Causing the heart. I'll give you 1 second if I want to make sure that people are hearing me because I'm getting stuff. Make sure that people are hearing me because I'm getting stuff. Ah, you gotta be kidding me. Sure that. All right, I apologize for that. I think I know what the problem is. All right, I apologize for that. I think I know what the problem is. All right, I apologize for that. I think I know what the problem is. I want shout out to Triple F for helping me out in that regard. Thank you. I wasn't looking at the chat. I don't look at the chat that much while I'm doing this. I want shout out to Triple F for helping me out in that regard. Thank you. I wasn't looking at the chat. I don't look at the chat that much while I'm doing this. I want shout out to Triple F for helping me out in that regard. Thank you. I wasn't looking at the chat. I don't look at the chat that much while I'm doing this. Shout out to Triple F for helping me out in that regard. Thank you. All right. Should sound better now, I hope. All right. Yep. Should sound better now, I hope. Which I did. All right. Yep. I apologize for that. I used my stuff for recording over the weekend. I thought it went to another mic than the mic that's in front of me. So I apologize for those who spend their just spend basically how much minutes listen to me. 40 almost 43 minutes. Dang it. Sorry about that. Okay. Give me. I got it again for Triple M who's coming in. I gotta give him I give him a shout out. Like I said, a one-man show, one-man guy running all these podcasts. It's going worldwide. Okay, again, I apologize for that. And I try to accommodate as best as having as professional as I can. So for those listening to live, I apologize, and I want to try to go over I'm gonna set up some of the stuff right now so you guys can, because I'm gonna do the audio different. The audio for those who listen to Spotify and Switch and all this stuff, the show does go up after after the show got the podcast does go up after the Thursday show. And that's what it is. No, no, my friend, is not your fault. So, this is gonna be a long show tonight because I want to prove my point. So tonight's show, for those who come in, tonight's show, we are on multiple platforms around the world, as we stated. I'm starting over because since I already have you there, and I want to give the audio people something. We're starting. We have multiple platforms around the world. We are now on. Not only you can find us on Twitch, Tempo FM, YouTube, and Facebook for the live video podcast where you guys could comment, as I can see now, and comment and stuff like that. We also on live now, live TV, YouNow, Nikoni for Japan, Japan. And for the audio side, we are also, if you want to listen to the audio side and share this with everybody else, we are on Spotify, Anchor, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and again, we will try to get ourselves on Apple Podcasts for my Apple users out there. Tonight's show, we're going to be talking about the future of energy costs and really talk about it. I'm gonna set that other video that I have back a little bit because of what happened, and like I said, I do apologize for that. And again, Trip, I am happy that you did help me out there. Like I said, I don't look at the chat, but other people in the chat were saying my voice was off, so I apologize for that. So, let me bring this back here. So when I do the audio for the audio, guys, remember you go to Project Open Mic on Stitcher, Project Open Mic on Spotify, Anchor, and you could hear if you don't have the time or this is too late for you, you could go to those places and you can listen to the podcast, almost commercial free and everything as well too that I know of. In that regard, so. In tonight's show, we're talking about, as adults, the energy uses in the world. I'm not a denier of climate change. Of course, I think climate change it happens because climate never stays the same. But I am not a denier. I myself have no problem with renewable energies. But tonight's show, I want to talk about all the different things that we should be doing. I think we should have gas, natural gas. We should have oil. We should have nuclear, which a lot of people are not talking about. Other than the Fukushima plant and the Chernobyl, which was run horribly. That's why that thing messed up. And the Russian people lied there, and that's when that happened. They were lied upon, and people died from that. 3 Mile Island didn't really happen in the way that people thought about it. The Fukushima didn't, it had its problem, but it did not get out there too bad. Thank God for that. And again, my shout outs go to my Japanese friends and viewers right now who are listening. You guys had an earthquake basically around that situation, right around that area. So hope everybody is doing well, and condolences go to the family and friends of those who have passed away from that earthquake. We need nuclear. We need solar. We need wind. We should combine this. Gas and oil is infinite. It's gonna run out. We understand that, but we are not at the point where we can take those two things out of the soup of energy processing for our energy. It's not there. And okay, you got geothermal. You have tidal. We have different kind of things. Other things that we should look at and also use as well. But I just want to have a grown, logical, adult talk with a lot of people so you don't get both extremes. Because again, like Thomas Sowell says, which is one of my one of the persons I look up to, um, there are no straight choices. There's always trade-offs, and that's what people need to understand. There are trade-offs in that regard. So the Biden administration, of course, we talked about that day. We took oil from, we stopped producing our own oil in America, and then we now gas prices have gone up because we have stopped taking oil from Russia. Understandable. I understand why we're doing that. I'm not against that. I agree with the president in that regard. But under former President Trump, we were peak sorry, we're net positive producer of gas and oil to the world because we were looking in our own country for oil. Now we're going to debunk something that the White House is saying. Two things: the White House is saying the gas price is going up because of Putin. That's a lie, because the gas price was going up before Putin invaded Ukraine. And also the 9,000 leases that Jen Psaki and Biden and them always talking about. Oh, we need to do this. Like, no. I want to debunk that as well tonight. Another thing is where, I don't like it that, you call Russia for what it is. And again, I agree with President Biden that, stop using oil for people doing bad stuff. But we're going to Iran, Iraq, UAE, and all the stuff who does just as culpable bad things as well to their own people. And so when people say to have a healthy conscience, we don't have a healthy conscience. The best conscience is to have producing in in America. Now, former President Trump took us out of the Paris Accords. In the Paris Accords that we talked about, I said, it made no difference because it just means paper. And the reason I said it just means paper, and I did a video about this, you go back to past Project Over Mics and talk and see this, even though one of my videos talking about that was pulled from YouTube for some weird reason. The reason doesn't make sense why I read, but the Paris Climate Accord is just a piece of paper. That just like how, as we just see, the Budapest Paper Treaty, where United States, France, and London and England said, hey, at the time after the Cold War, Ukraine had the third largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. And we told them to give us your nuclear weapons and we'll protect you against Russia. Well, you can see right now what's happening. The piece of paper didn't mean nothing. We didn't do that. And it's not even now. We did it back then under the Obama administration when Crimea got taken over. So, in that regard, we didn't do stuff like that. We didn't upheld that. So that right now, people sign this paper and Trump pulled out of it. People will get angry about that. The biggest producers of carbon right now is China, India, Russia, top three, and those three countries combined are producing more carbon than America. They're like 10 times more carbon than America could ever provide. And let's go down to the logical numbers of saying this before, as I'm stating, so you can see this. We have 350 million people in America. China has 1.4 billion. India has 1.1 billion. Look at the disparity of the people. The disparity of the people is what's going on. Russia, of course, as you can see how evil they could be doing right now. They're not telling you the true cause of stuff either. So those countries are the top three. They're not doing that. And as I stated before, but again, doing this because of the mess up in technical difficulties I had. One of the best ways we could do against the carbon, other than reduce a little bit of what we could do, is also plant more trees. In America and in some other countries, some European countries too, but not a lot. There are more countries that basically use, and Brazil uses it too as well, but not as lot. I forgot the term what it is that they use for forestry, how to so you could get the trees still, but still plant more trees or split the trees so it could be a certain way so it could still keep on growing. We do that in America and in some of the countries, like I just said. But in the other countries like China, other stuff, no, they do it the old-fashioned way, what America used to do. That's one of the things that I have a problem with. We have sanctions in America that that hurt people, of course, without the politicians who could grease their hands. Of course, we know how that works. The politicians could do that, but we have that situation. But I'll give the BP oil spill. BP got fined hundred billions of dollars because of what happened, which is rightfully sure they should have gotten that because they were doing something wrong, understandably. But other countries don't do that. Majority of the other countries, like I just said with that, unless it's not gonna make bigger money or whatever, they don't do that. So it's best to have the smart technologies here to do it safely and clean. And if we mess up, we find the countries, and that's what EPA do most of the time. They're not doing that as before, but that's what they should do. But that's not what's going on in that regard. So we do a better job here. But planting trees is a way more better way to do this. And we should be looking at more technologies for stuff. Now, and also another thing, like I said, going back to the politician thing, like I just stated, I remember there's another thing people will be talking about. Oh, we that gas, or they always say, well, gas and oil companies get a lot of subsidies. Google this again, and you'll see it. They don't. The biggest subsidies goes towards the renewable energy, which half of those subsidies that goes to renewable energy doesn't produce nothing. Go back to Obama, look at Cylindra. They were supposed to produce this photosynthesis, this photo glass for solar power that gives a lot of energy and all that stuff. Did not produce one, not one. Let's look at GM. As you're gonna see later on, I'm gonna prove GM is getting a lot of subsidies to make EV cars and all this stuff like that. But there are problems, which I want to show you. Tesla, got them at the beginning, but Elon Musk never asked for them. I played a video and showed you that Elon Musk never asked them, but that's what it is. And the Biden administration have not said Tesla once in their situation. We're talking about being they're the lead people when it comes to EVs. So now I talked about the climate change stuff, which I'm gonna play the video again and go from there. And you should be caught up on about what are we talking about again. We're talking about this logically and everything. I have solar panels on my roof. I believe in solar power as a way, but we need to get technologies that get more of the energy, capture more energy. Also, we need better batteries to store a lot of this stuff. We'll get it, and you'll get into the problems of that as well too. Oil has its problems, batteries have their problems. It's not a silver bullet. It's a trade-off, and nobody wants to talk about the trade-offs. So that's the problem I have with that. So let us go with that situation. And back to the video. And I'll say what I have to say through that.
I'm now joined by Dr. Roy Spencer. Dr. Spencer, thank you so much for your time. First, can you tell us a little bit about your temperature measurements? There are 5 main ones around the world. What makes yours special, and what have you found?
Well, the global temperature data set that John Christie and I started over 30 years ago, the advantage to it is that it's from satellites and it covers the whole Earth. There's no other temperature data set that covers the whole Earth. So that's one of the things we like about it. It only goes back to 1979, so we can only talk about how much warming there has been in the last 43 years in that data set, but that is the period when it was supposed to be warming the most.
And what have you found with that, the warming? What sort of warming have we had? Is it in line, for instance, with the predictions from the climate models of 10, 15, 20 years ago that we face a climate crisis with very dangerous rises already in the planet's temperature?
Well, if we do a comparison, an apples to apples comparison between the satellite measurements, which are actually of a fairly deep layer of the atmosphere, okay, That's where most of our weather occurs, is in the troposphere, the lowest part of the atmosphere. And if we do an apples to apples comparison between the satellite measurements and what over 24 climate models have predicted since 1979, for that same layer, our measurements are actually at the bottom end of all those models. In other words, the warming we see is lower than most, if not all, of those models. So there is a discrepancy between what the observations are showing, which shows about an average of 0.13 degrees C per decade warming, which is, a very small number, compared to the climate models, which are generally, twice that at least.
And the thing I wanted to bring up in this point right here, like I did in the last part, which was that this is a part of human beings that also has a problem when in predicting these things. We have not had the set data for a long time to accurately predict a lot of things. Back in the 80s, you go Google this and find out. Back in the 80s, hell, you know what? I couldn't even, just as I show the other one, I could show the other one. Let me see. And let me see. Let's put it. So we'll put it on there because I just want to be back in the 80s and stuff like that. There are many stories about the temperatures and there was articles upon articles about, as you see right there, like articles about global cooling, how the temperatures are dropping, and we need to fix that and do something as well too. Like, that's how human beings are. Just, we think that we are, how should I say this? We're infallible creatures, of course, and we think that we're gods, that we know exactly how things should be. And the sad thing about it is a lot of people who are, as you can see on the screen, like I said, the stories from the New York Times, and like, we also had this complex that we think that we know by just a simple amount of data that we could predict too much stuff. As he just said, the data went back from the 70s, just like they said with the not earthquake, with the hurricanes, was back in the early 1900s. We've only been in this planet for a while, but so we don't have the whole of the 1800s that we could tell us something, or the 1700s. Of course, didn't have the technology. We have old technology to tell us stuff. But when people are like, oh, this is the most hurricanes we have. Yeah, from a century of data. The planet has been around for billions of years. We don't know if there's been cycles of there's so many hurricanes coming this cycle or not, or this year or now. That's kind of not predicting. The best thing, of course, I always say is hope for the best, prepare for the worst. But like, again, in 2017, we got a crazy amount of crazy strong hurricanes. And then I think it was 2020 where Louisiana, Mississippi, they got hit 20 times. Which, again, that was an anomaly that we know people talk about. They were like, "Oh, this is crazy. It's because of global warming." Okay, but did that happen in 1850? Did it happen in 1800 and maybe 1720? We don't know. So we have a small data to pull from to make these big logical thinking. One of the guy who started Greenpeace, was saying it's kind of crazy that we could predict the global warming or global warming like this, but we can't even predict what tomorrow is going to be like accurately, or when a hurricane in 3 days. And he's correct on that. Again, I'm not against global climate change. I'm not against renewable energy in this conversation, in this podcast I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not against it. I gotta say that for the platforms out there. I am for renewable energy because, again, I have it myself. But let's talk about it like grown, logical adults. And then atmosphere is something else that, again, that a lot of people don't talk about, which I'll let him go forward and say.
In fact, your latest model, and that, take into account the depressing effects of El Nino and all that, shows a warming for January of 0.03 above the 30-year average. But your kind of measurements have been upsetting to people that want us to believe there's a climate emergency happening, climate crisis, existential. And Google has now demonetized your site, claiming it makes unreliable and harmful claims. Which claims have they told you are unreliable and harmful?
Well, they're not specific about what claims. They're basically, it says the whole, what
I know about
their website tells me is that all of my whole website basically is unreliable and harmful claims, which is ironic because when Google announced late last year that they were going to start demonetizing climate skeptic websites, they talked about websites that promoted that it was a hoax, which I never say, that there's no.
Neither am I. I'm not saying that. I am with the professor on this.
Warming
or the scientists on this
occurring, which I never say that
there is
warming occurring.
There is,
or that say that the warming isn't partly due to humans. And I do say, I think the warming we have measured, which isn't very strong, is probably at least 50% due to humans. I can't prove that. It's just the theory, the global warming theory of increasing CO2, it's entirely possible that that's the case. So,
and that's where I want to comment on when I was saying that. I give him that he gave the positive is 50%. All right, the global warming is not done by just humans. Again, the part, and he gave 50%, so I could work with that. But nobody talks about the other 50%. That's the part that does bothers me. Nobody talks about the other 50%, the people who try to scare you, and scare the kids, but they think you scaring little children, that the world will end in the next 9 years, Miss AOC and all the other people, which is a lie. That's not going to happen. But anyway, unless a meteor hits the planet, that's a sad thing. I don't want that either. And funny enough, we had a meteor that did hit the planet, and it was discovered, a couple hours before it hit. So again, why don't we put the money towards finding, try to survive? But I digress. Getting to what the good doctor's saying here. Just like we had the earthquake in Japan, nobody talks about people like talk about, oh yes, a lot of ice is jumping in the water and the fresh water is changing the currents and all that stuff. That's plausible. That is plausible. I'm not denying it either. But also, there's a thing called the Earth, where earthquakes and tectonic plates are moving, and that also changes the currents of certain things in the ocean. Nobody talks about that. What about volcanoes? There's a lot of active volcanoes right now in what do you call it? In Indonesia right now, that is acting very very, very strong. Acting very strong right now, putting up a lot of carbon into the air right now, and other materials, of course. How are we going to stop? Please tell me how we're going to stop that. I don't know how I don't understand how people could tell me how you're going to stop that. And another thing we can't stop is the solar. We got a lot of solar winds from the sun. That also affects our atmosphere. So, but again, I don't hear a lot of people who say this stuff talk about those instances. I do not. So that's why I want an honest. That's why I want an honest talk about the situation, about our energy production in the future and everything. Because again, like I said with Biden, he was talking about we're gonna stop oil, using oil in 2035. I don't think so. I'm not saying we should not go towards that, But I don't think so, because oil is not used just only for gas and everything. Oil is also used for, as this right here, for this mic and the plastic and rubber and all kind of stuff. Oil is in a lot of stuff that we use, petroleum. So it does puzzles me to see when people say these things. So let's go back with the good doctor.
I don't know why they decided to do this. I think they have a bunch of liberal arts majors that just heard that that the scientists don't like the answers we get, and therefore we're deniers, right?
That's good. That's good.
Let me tease out exactly that, because I find this amazing, but also very sinister. So the people who run Google, who aren't climate scientists, have punished your website, and you are a scientist, one of the leading climate scientists in the world, measuring the world's temperature. They've punished your site without saying exactly why, what you've done wrong, claiming you are unreliable and harmful. Because, it seems to me, simply because your data indicates the planet isn't warming as much as alarmists have said. Have I got it right there?
Yes, you've got it exactly right. If people like myself don't buy into the narrative that, you know, global warming is not only occurring, but it's, you know, it's going on at a catastrophic rate and we have to do something about it, blah, blah, blah. You know, if you don't go along with that narrative, you get thrown under the bus.
That's true.
But this is crazy. Now, I've heard you say, look, the money's neither here nor there to you, right? That's one issue. Put the money aside. I'm talking more about the principle, where the social media giants can attack scientists because the results of their science doesn't fit the global warming alarmist cause that activists want to push. Aren't you actually frightened by this development?
Well, quite honestly, no, because they didn't come right out, you know, publicly and say that.
And respect for the doctor for saying what he's gonna say. I did watch this. This is one of the videos I did watch before. I respect the doctor and what he's saying, which is also factual, and that's why I could believe him as an honest broker.
Dr. Spencer is spreading, you know, nonsense. This was just a case of them not allowing me to put their ads, Google ads, on my website in order to help support the website. You know, there wasn't any big announcement or anything, because if they had gone public with attacks, I would defend myself. But all this was just, you know, not allowing me to make any money off of the website, which is fine. You know, I don't mind supporting it myself.
Yeah, well, there's other sites that have also been punished, like What's Up With That? And the money does matter a lot to them. Well, I'm glad you're feeling sanguine about this, but I actually worry that this is the start of something more, because the social media giants have been flexing their muscles in stifling certain debate, and I think they're going to get very busy on this one. But Roy Spencer, I've followed your work for many, many years. I admire your courage. I admire your clarity of thought. Thank you so much for your time.
And that's one thing I wanted to put out there as well. So to have the clarity of thought, that's why I'm doing this show right here. Because again, last week when I talked about the gas prices and I talked about the political stuff of this, I'm not putting that much politics in this. Not as much. It's a part of the conversation because it needs to be talked about. It just needs to be talked about. Let's not pretend that it doesn't. It does. So we're going with you just hear how a scientist talking about this stuff, and again, the grain that he has to go through, and he's one of the leading scientists out there. And again, even when he was presented by a question by the reporter, he was being honest, and that's what I gave an honest broker to him. I wish there was more scientists like that. Okay, so with that stated, right? And then we were talking about I was saying stuff which was basically about the water, like it's crazy out there when people need to understand some of other countries, or we're talking about how we do things. Yes, we have pollution, we do horrible things in America. America's not perfect. I know that, and I state that so people could understand that. But also we have you go in and put water. You put water. And now I remember now the waters in the world, and most of the most toxic waters in the world is in Europe and in mostly in Asia and Europe. Asia and Europe has the most toxic waters and thing. Don't we want to call out about that? Those things are dangerous. As I was going to bring out, one of the most toxic places out is called the Blue Lagoon, which I'm going to bring up on the screen to show you, which it was a crazy story that somebody did this. I can't believe somebody did do this. I want to know what happened to the person. A man caught swimming in the infamous toxic Blue Lagoon that was dyed black by Derbyshire police to stop Instagram self-seekers. People are crazy. The water it's a very toxic water. The Derbyshire Blue Lagoon is an abandoned form of quarry filled with toxic waste. Water is full of harmful chemicals and reported chemicals such report same level as bleach. The site has been attracted hundreds of people who see it as a picnic site rather than a poisonous lake. Cops dyed it black to deter selfie seekers before a man was found swimming in it. Look, the man was crazy. I'll say that. And all this, and they did it for Instagram people. I said let him go. I said let him go. Why? So they can, because again, we don't need their genes in the pool. Since we're talking about a lagoon and a pool, we don't need their genes in the human pool. I think it's self-evident that some people just ain't smart enough to keep on going. Okay, just like I did lots of videos about the kids who did the Tide Pod and the condom challenge and all that stuff. I don't encourage it, but again, I am not discouraging it either. You want to do something stupid to whatever, and you die from that? Hey, Darwin knocking the door. That's what's happening. It's so crazy. And the man has not been named. I said again, it looks, before they put in the black dye, it looked beautiful. That's why people thought it looked like it was the Caribbean. As you can see right there, like it was for the Caribbean, like I showed videos in the past about the Caribbean waters. This is what it was, but this, yeah. If I know it's dangerous and it could kill you, I'm not doing that. So now that's what it looks like right now, a dark water like that. That's what it is. But he went in there to jump in there. Okay, and that's as well as random sea. Open water such as the Hoffman Quarry in Herperin remains cold no matter how hot the water is. It means your body can quickly get into cold shock using your heart, which causes your heart rate to quicken. So start gasping for breath, and you could quickly become confused, disoriented. That may cause drowning and increase dramatic, even if the strongest swimmers. In addition to the cold water, the pH value is similar to bleach, with many additional hidden dangers below the water that could cause people to get trapped and unable to get out. The quarry is not a place for swimming. It is certainly not a tourist attraction, and anyone should be visiting. Our message clear: stay away and stay out of the waters. Now, and they're not gonna tell you what happened to the guy, and I would like to know what happened to the guy. You swimming basically in bleach. How is that not? And again, if you swim, it gets in your mouth. Like that guy, like I said, hey, you want to go ahead, go ahead. I say. And also, he was. I remember the part that they said surface. He was belligerent to the fire department. Yeah. Like, what is your problem, dude? But these are toxic waters that in other countries, as they say there. Now, don't get me wrong. America has the toxic waters too. There's one that's in is it Illinois or whatever that has the same quarry problem, whatever, and they have people, and you can see, look at all these people right here on the hill. Like, it's a toxic thing where people still go, like, I would not go there, but again, who am I for these certain people? Now, as you can see on the left side of the screen right here, I love how the Biden administration is using TikTokers to tell their lies, which I don't like that. Don't do that. This girl did not don't know nothing about gas and all that stuff and how it's put up, whatever. Stop it. And that's why I say stay off of TikTok, because it's bad. So let's get rid of that. I want to talk about so we have those situations, all right? Another thing that's going on with energy, like I said. So let's break it down. Let's go down to again, nuclear would be a helpful. Well, nobody wants to talk. Nobody's talking about nuclear, and wow, funny enough, wow, the OPEC countries, UAE and whatever, they put in a nuclear power last year, the year before. They put nuclear. They got themselves a new nuclear plant, but they don't want to use their own oil because they could make so much money sell it to us. You see the nonsense in that thinking that I wish we should have nuclear power. I'm just saying, just be careful, look at the technologies, and make sure it could be safe. That's all it is, just like anything else. That's what we do in America, and that's what, again, that's why I talk about the whole BP oil spill thing. We have the power to at least find and make sure these companies don't go crazy with doing stuff illegally, unless they have a politician in their back pocket. As you're going to see what I talk about. So I want to let's talk about, let me give it up here for a second. Not that. I don't want to talk about that yet. Let's go about wind turbines. That's why I want to talk about wind turbines. Now, a lot of people, you go to Google, of course, you go to Google and it will state that how long does wind turbines last? And I did a video about this as well too, but that's the one I got the pull from YouTube, but you still be on Facebook. But yeah, and Tempo FM. Well, no, not Tempo FM. Sorry about that. But how long do turbines tie? You put it in Google right now, it says 20 to 25 years, which is a lie. And I like it. Now again, this is right here is, like I said, there are many videos about it. Even companies talking about it. I want to share about it as well too. But I'm just giving you a counter to what you hear from other stuff. How long do these wind turbines last? 10 years or until this subsidy ran out, whichever comes first. Wind power outfits still claim that their turbines run on the smell of the oily rags and last 25 years or more, needing little more than a hug from time to time. However, the operation and maintenance cost of these things has been reportedly reported by Australia's infringement is around 25 per megawatt. Hardly any zero margin cost claimed by the wind cultists. That's the quotation marks, just to let people as well as the detail later on in the post. Wind turbines are unlikely to have an economic lifespan beyond 10 years. But first, from the Energy Wire, I'm being honest and showing this, a renewable energy site, indicating that their only things that keep them running is endless stream of taxpayers' money, which is true. That part is true. Again, go back to what I said Obama with the cylinder, and they said they never produced not one of those photosynthesis panels like they claim they're gonna do. They took billions of dollars and taxpayer money gone. It's the exact same thing with what is this? Is it Lucid? which is funny. They have sold only 56 cars, but they became one of the biggest companies on the stock market when they first launched, where of course it fell because of course only 56 cars, and all the cars went towards where the employees. They didn't sold a car. That's how weird it is. Most of these the turbines, which I'm going to show you, I'm going to just show you clips of stuff, a bit how a turbine get built. Most of the turbines are built from fiberglass. The problem is when the fiberglass is done, like you see right here, when the fiberglass is done, they just dump the fiberglass. They're not broke, they don't break down, and they're very toxic. And the thing that's hurting them is to make the turbines run and be efficient. The air the air is not as pure as we always say. The air has particles in it. The only way to keep the turbines running at the power that they need to do, they need to have a smooth edge, which is why they use fiberglass. But piece by piece, they break down over the years, and majority of them go from 10 to 12 years. But nobody wants to talk about this. And including if you put them on the ocean's front or whatever, it's even worse with the salt. It breaks it down as well too if you don't have maintenance to keep them upkeep. Another thing that people need to talk about as well too, which nobody talks about, is you can't put these turbines. You can put the turbines in wind, but you have to put the turbines in Pacific wind. You can't put them in wind where they will go over 50 miles per hour blowing, because it would generate too much power. The gearbox can't handle it, and it could cause very severe problems. And of course, you got to put it in a place where it gets some kind of wind, because you don't want it to. And you don't want a place where they don't get wind at all and don't produce the energy. That's also a problem that nobody talks about. The green people talk about a lot. Another thing they don't talk about, because you can see it like they were saying, the repairs of the gearbox wearing out a whole lot faster than expected. The metal filings gum up the oil reserve, and the mechanics to restore a special part first efforts of first cleaning out all the ground of metal in order to have the oil drain on the reservoirs. And here you go again. What do you just see right there? This is why we say, oh, we need to get rid of oil. Oil is needed in the windmills. So you're not getting rid of oil. You're not. I don't get why people say that. You're not getting rid of oil. You need oil in the windmills. You need fluid for the gearbox. Another thing is, when you have all, which we'll get to the battery side of this situation, pointed, but it takes a lot of energy to build these massive wind turbines. And by building these massive wind turbines, you need, again, oil and gas. I'm sorry, I don't know why people think that. They're not electrical machines, which I'll be showing you right now. To do this stuff, we still would need gas to build it. We still need oil to get the fluids going. We'll still need oil to be up in the to get what do you call it, like, to do the construction of these things. And again, the bad part about it is they don't talk. Like I said, the gears, once they're done, they just leave the here's one. This is an example right here of one right here, and you see on the screen when the turbine is going so fast that it combusts. That's the situation that people need to talk about. This is what look at, I mean, look at it. A couple of, I mean, these are because these are in hurricane spots. So this is not saying that, but this is where all the wind stuff, which took millions of dollars to build, they're destroyed. This is in Puerto Rico, of course. It has its trade-off. It has its problems. Hurricane comes to and destroy stuff. What are you gonna do? And and I'm showing you right there of a turbine literally just falling apart because it moves too fast. So you can't put these turbines in space and just, oh, let's get a thing. Now, yes, we might could figure out a way to get a better gearbox and all the other stuff, of course, don't get me wrong, but that's stuff we need to be doing all the time. And that's why you don't want to depend on just this, because the weather-dependent wind power leave hurricane victims powerless. That's a problem. That's why you still would need diesel, still need gas generators. You still need some kind of way to do things because of that. I just want to point that out for you guys. Now, I'm going to show you right here. I'm not going to play it just because of thing, but there's a link in the description on YouTube, Temper FM, Facebook. If you want to watch this, the time lapse of how long this this is. Renewable energy of the future generation. The world's turning towards solar energy and wind energy to cope with the current carbon emissions and decrease the carbon level in our environment. By in our environment by producing more renewable energy than burning fossil fuels. Pakistan, in collaboration with China under CPE, contracted taking the same measure of one step at a time for renewable energy. This interesting illustration journey through the time period of 6 months. So 6 months to do one turbine that generates 50 megawatt energy. Okay, there you go. We always look at this. They had to create a road because they got to build they're doing it in the ocean, which again remind us of what the salt plus the impurities of the stuff in the wind is gonna cause the short failings of these things to be taken down and gonna be replaced every 10 years, which is this is not cost effective at this point. So you have to build, let me see, 13.2 kilometers of total road network had to be built for this. I'll show that just to see. Okay, you're seeing this to start the drill. This is not running off of no electricity. Most other stuff you see are not working off of electricity. They're working off of diesel. Lifting that up, diesel. You can see all this stuff. Those are diesel. Digging the trenches. That's not electricity doing that. That's diesel. As much as people want to talk, all the cranes, all the power. This is 6 months of them using these machines to do all this stuff. And what you're going to do, how are you going to do and here's another thing. We got to use a lot of metal. How you melting metal? I know it's fire. You ain't and you heating it up. You need a lot of energy to heat up the metal to turn it from the ore to what it needs to be. So you're gonna still need coal plants or plants of gas or whatever to get it to a point to melt the metal to get the way you want to do. So that's what I said. It's such an oxymoron of how we can be. We cannot use. We could live without oil. No, we can't. That's a lot of metal right there for the foundation. And concrete is another way too. That takes time as well too. Concrete also uses a lot of gas to produce. I mean, oil to produce the concrete. Again, look at this stuff. Do you think doing this is you think all these cement truck coming backing this up? You think they're doing it on electric? No, they're not. No, they're not. And as you can see, they have several of wind turbines already up there already. Let me see something. They're spinning. They're barely spinning. And this is time lapse to speed, but they're barely spinning, as you can see. And again, that truck right there, that's diesel. Now we could do biofuels. That's another thing I forgot about. We could do biofuels. You gotta fill back up. You gotta fill back in it up. So now here comes the big truck that again uses gas and diesel to bring the turbines out there. So they could put up the turbine. Again. That's a diesel truck. That's a diesel truck bringing that. That is not an electric truck doing that. It's not. And those cranes ain't working off electricity either. I'm just getting a time lapse of these things. And so it took 6 months to put this one turbine in. Again, you think an electric truck is lifting these heavy things up? Nope. The electricity, the power, don't have the power don't have the torque to do that, to do this stuff. That's a truck and cranes and doing that. Those are not electric. So again, the time lapse is down in the description if you want to look at it, look and watch it, whatever in that regard. Clean energy. Oh, it took a clean energy. It took a lot of dirty energy to get this one clean energy to work. Like I stated, don't you think that's weird? And we're gonna get rid of oil. I mean, we're not gonna use oil. That's the part that irks me the most. That's a lie right there. That's not gonna happen. We're gonna still do this. I wish people could just understand that. Okay? So here goes to the other problem of this problem. Now we're gonna go into the solar part. Again, we can make it that the solar panels get more and more efficient. I'm not against that. Let's work towards that. But the problem is not also the solar panels. The problem also lies on the battery side. And we don't have that much giga battery sites to store all these things. Not electric cars. Let's go with we already talked about that. So we have this right here. The mega stations. This is the list of all the mega stations out there that does try to do stuff. Some of these stuff in America have natural gas compressed air. Some have been with thermal storages, which again I'm not against that. That's in certain countries. But there are not many. There are not many plants out there that's using the as you can see now, you got lithium battery in Texas, Australia, like in that. We're gonna need a lot. This is the world we're talking about. This is the world. This is under construction right now for. And these are thermal energy sites right here. We are not the capacity of this. We're just not. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. So about 50 megaton facilities around the world, and right now under construction. There are about 4 of them going. One in Oklahoma, Oakland, which need it because of what's going on. Excuse me. California has a situation which makes no sense to me. When California, when the sun is working good, and when the wind is blowing, they create a lot of energy. The problem is they don't have a lot of sites to store the power, so they have to sell. So here's the thing: they sell the power. They don't even sell the power. They don't even. That's right. They don't even sell the power to the other states. They give it away. They beg. They pay other state like Nevada and Oregon to take the energy away. So how that work for the taxpayers in California? That's why your taxes are damn high. That don't make no logical sense in that regard. You're making the energy, but because you can't store it, you don't have enough, you have to give it away. So we have it's amazing. We have Virginia, Australia, China, South Korea, Ireland, Germany, Japan, of course, South Africa, which that's going through some problems right now. I'm just looking for the unique countries. The United Kingdom, of course, Spain, Chile, Morocco. That's the only countries that could do that, and they produce, as you can see, all the megawatts, which is not bad, but can we? Even if we add all this up, which is thousands and hundreds and down to whatever, this right here don't even look like it goes more than maybe, let's say 500. That's one in South Africa. Okay, one in the United States, 400, 100. If I go there, I guarantee this is like no more than maybe 60,000 at the best. Let me see. I just want to see. I'll just use that, it'll be easier. I just want to see how much did they say the United States use. Because I don't even think that gets to of course it will be out there. The United States use 1.1174, basically that much megawatts, or about 1.1 billion kilowatts. So we won't even have the storage places and stuff to store most of the energy. That's why we need, and that's, remember, solar and wind, that's where they put the energy into store. The infrastructure is nowhere close to there. Nowhere close to there. I just wanted to show you that. Just to show you how that situation is with that. We're nowhere close to that. That's why I said we cannot rule out fossil fuels out of it. We got to use other fuels. How about hydropower? How about, which also use batteries to a degree, but we've been doing it for years, that it could be a straight offset to a lot of stuff. How about like I said, biofuels? plants. We grow fuels and use them. I'm not against that at all. Now, the one thing I want to talk about, and yes, I gotta put the evil lady up there on the screen. Remember I said we can regulate stuff in America, but the problem is if you have a politician in your back pocket, you could get away with a lot of nonsense. So even though Miss Nancy Pelosi, as you see on the screen, who is
You piece of loser.
I'm gonna do that because I can't. This woman is evil incarnate. Sorry, she is. And trust me, for those who are listening to the stop, I'm a libertarian. The Republicans got their own problems too. I'm not trying to make this super political, but my point, like I normally do other shows, but I gotta point out certain things that needs so people can understand this. I gotta point this out. Remember, she said the Green New Deal is a good thing, that water will rise, that we need to do everything to do whatever, but she just bought a $25 million house in Florida, beachfront property. If the water's going to rise and take over, the beach is going to erode and go whatever, why are you buying a house out there? Why are you buying a $25 million house on the beachfront, ma'am? But I want you to hear this. And this is why I say politicians in the back pocket, because they know what's going on. Here's this statement that she's going to say. And I'll tell you why it's a problem for a lot of the green energy and renewable energy as well, too.
Insider just completed a 5-month investigation finding that 49 members of Congress and 182 senior congressional staffers have violated the Stock Act, the insider trading law.
You heard what he just stated. A lot of the politicians, both sides, have violated inside trader law.
I'm wondering if you have any reaction to that, and secondly, should members of Congress and their spouses be banned from trading individual stocks?
Should what's your thoughts on that? And should Congress and their spouses be banned from trading in trading stocks?
The answer is yes. Just say yes.
Again, I'm listening to a lot of crowd, but yes, I agree with Clouder. The answer is yes, but listen to what she says.
No to the second one.
Wrong. Of course.
We have a responsibility to report in the stock, on the stock, but I'm not familiar with that 5-month review, but if
not surprising you were not with that, but when the Republicans was in charge, you was all for it.
people aren't reporting, they should be.
You're very familiar.
Yeah. Because this is a free market and people,
Oh,
we are a free
love
market
the free
economy,
market.
they should be able to participate in that.
Okay. She said why we can't do it because it's a free market and people should participate in that. I got a question. Y'all put what was it again? Oh yeah, Martha Stewart. She went behind bars because of that inside trading. And it's kind of weird. I said yes, they should be barred from that. You and your spouses should be barred from it, and you barred from that. It should be because you guys make the rules. You guys make the rules. So yeah, you have the inside trading, like the bar guys in North Carolina, which this is to say that in when he know that COVID was coming. What did he do? He sell a lot of stocks and so it made hundreds of millions of dollars. Same thing with the Democrats on the other side. Don't get me. Both parties did that, and it's same. You guys make the rules, so you know. Oh wow! Just like I give an example. Nancy Pelosi made a lot of money on stocks when they were doing when they had a couple of years ago when they were trying to let's ban incandescent bulbs and let's use CFLs. Okay, and she bought stocks in the companies that made the CFLs. And funny how that worked. We didn't get rid of we and remember they stated back in the early late 2000s and teens, we're gonna get rid of incandescent bulbs because they're very bad for the environment and they blah 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 blah. As you're gonna see something that talk about the bulbs as well. So I'm gonna show you that. But it's funny enough. We're supposed to get rid of it. We went through a year when it was we didn't have out. You couldn't buy incandescent bulbs in the stores. Shock and amaze, we have incandescent bulbs again. Why? Because it was not the answer. And you could see the politician that's in the pocket could do evil things. That's why with the wind turbine, like I just said before, if we could just honestly do the right thing and be honest brokers, we should have all these energy stuff that I've said, and not be have these politicians coming in and just wrecking everything just so they could grease their palms and get their money and whatever. And again, that's on both sides. That's not only Republicans, that's Democrats as well. In my country, it's even worse in other countries because they know how to. They don't have a lot of the features they have. I don't think you should do that, Nesco. I think it's wrong. But of course, you're an evil person, so I'm not surprised you say that. So of course they're pushing, hey, get EVs, get stuff like this, get all this stuff. That's why I say you never heard Joe Biden talk about Tesla, even though Tesla's the biggest. They're pushing EVs, right? Let's look at this. They're pushing EVs, and you got to be careful on certain things. I want to show this up there on the screen as well too, because I know I did. Oh yeah. The reason I'm saying it because of how the global market share, right, of cars. They're like, oh man, it's great. It doubled. Okay, it doubled from 2%, and it doubled from 1%. We're not there yet. EVs are not mainstream. It's not mainstream at all. The global market share of electric cars more than doubled in 2001, marking a clear acceleration of EV adoption around the world. Let's remember the world in that regard. Albeit with mass markets lagging behind. For years, industry analysts have failed to understood how quickly the transition to electric vehicles is happening. Every year, they adjust their predictions to be more aggressive, but even the most aggressive ones today don't believe that more than 50% of new market auto cars are going to be electric by 2030. I agree. It ain't gonna be no 50%. No way. Part of the weakness in the prediction is that the analysts focus on the progress of EV adoption rate without accounting as much for a decline in sales of the internal combustion engine. ICE, we can call it ICE. Internal combustion engine, we're going to use ICE for that vehicles. As the consumer market shifts towards electric cars, as we often state at Electric Trek, we believe the shift is going to happen in most major markets by 2024 to 2025. No, they're not. No, they're not. I'm using their website. No, there's not. No, they're not. Because you kind of you basically debunk your own stuff right here. Oh my goodness, this is where they debunk their own stuff. Do people not read their articles? The way the pandemic is affecting automaking has put a lens on the decline of ICE car sales and also EVs, because a lot of the EV cars need the computer chips. Sad enough too, a lot of EV cars, like I know one of a friend of mine who has a Tesla. His car is at the shop because I have to change out a module because the car uses a lot of their phone technology to do stuff, whatever, with 3G. Well, they just stopped 3G, so now they gotta put in a 5G in there. Great. ICE car sales. It did the same thing for electric cars as well too. So see, that's what I'm saying. Let's be honest about this. Most people are starting to understand the shift is permanent. Really? Come on, man. The combined decline of ICE car sales and the increase in electric car sales have resulted in a massive jump in the market share for the latter over the last two. Oh my goodness. Who writes this? Are you crazy? You're debunking your own self. Why do that? Sir, Frederick Lambert, what are you, crazy? The reason why I'm this because I read this, as I said, it's permanent. Okay, hear how he disproved his own theory that he just wrote. The International Energy Agency released a new report looking at car sales around the world, confirmed that EV market shares jumped up from 4.11% in 2020 to 8.5% in 2021. So that means out of all the car sales in 2021, it's 91%, take away 50, 91% of the cars are still ICE cars. They're still the internal combustible cars. If it was 50%, I will be with you, sir. But that's a small percentage still. And in America, it's even, oh my goodness. In America, last year it was only 2%. Now they will say it's 4%. And you know why they say it's 4%? Because they combine EV hybrids, which is ridiculous. The energy wrote about the impressive electric car growth rate over the last 3 years. Sorry, not 13, 3 years. The growth has been particularly impressive over the last 3 years, even as the global pandemic shrank the market of conventional cars. And because we didn't have the chips. People weren't buying cars because we didn't have the chips as well, too. It's not just the pandemic only, but the chips and gas. Like, it's so many things, but they don't. Be honest, brokers, people. Conventional car manufacturers are grappling with the supply chain bottlenecks. Okay, I amend what I just said, but that is a part of it as well too. In 2019, 2.2 million electric cars were cars. Wait, in 2019, 2.2 million electric cars. I don't know why the one is there. That's what surprised. It's a hyperlink. That's what messed me up. Were sold, representing just 2.5 of the global market sales. 2.5 is not big number. In 2020, the overall car market contracted, but electric car sales bucked up the trend, raising to 3 million and representing 4.1% of the total car sales. In 2001, electric car sales more than doubled to 6.6 million. That's great and all. I'm not knocking that's great and all. Representing close to 9% of the global market and more than tripling their market share for 2 years earlier. All net growth in global car sales came from electric cars. How? When it's only representing 9% of the market? That's why I said it's to be honest brokers, man. Why? They now believe that there are over 16 million electric vehicles on the roads around the world, but those vehicles are not distributed equally. The U.S. market is in dire need. Okay. This is why I say it's so unfair. The U.S. market is in dire need of the availability of electric pickup trucks in high volumes in order to accelerate the EV adoption in the country. This is what I said. I read a piece from the wind turbine where it would say stop these things. This is a pro electric car thing, but that's messed up. And the only reason, like I said, the 2.4 is because they combine electric hybrid and EVs. It's only 2% in America. It was not 4.1% like he just stated. And let's look at the definition of electric hybrid, EV hybrid. Electric hybrid vehicles are powered by an internal combustion engine and electric motor. This part right here makes a big difference. But you're going to add that to your thing. Come on, guys. Be honest with people. Be honest with people. That's all I'm saying. Okay, let's go. Let's go with this now. Here we go. I want you. This is Scotty Kilmer on YouTube, and let's listen to Scotty talk about the problems with the EVs. That again, they don't want to talk about it. As he titled his video, they try to shut me down for telling the truth about electric cars. Because again, the Biden administration is pushing, we got to push EVs this. And again, I'm not against having electric cars. I myself was thinking about my next car should be electric cars. To a point that I think, but I don't know yet. But let's go with Scotty right now, and you can hear what's going on.
General Motors recalled some 141,000 Chevrolet Bolts that they had sold worldwide since 2017. The Bolt had been America's first mass-marketed and celebrated electric car victory over Tesla. So what was the problem? There were several reports of rare yet critical fires that sparked when the EV was left charging overnight. The cause was lithium-ion battery cells inside the car. Today, we're digging deeper into this. We're also looking at the Thacker.
You see those big old trucks where the factory to get the cobalt and all that stuff, like I said before, that's not electric. Those are not electric trucks. Those are trucks that bought off of diesel and gas. So where we got to do a lot of dirty energy to get the clean energy, but the clean energy cannot change over the dirty energy. That's the point I'm talking about. Logically talking about this.
Gas lithium mine controversy. This is happening right on U.S. soil, so you'll want to hear about this. Hop in and let's get going. There's a lot of talk today about electric vehicles, which will help combat climate change and reduce carbon emissions. But one thing people don't talk about as much is the fact that EV production itself isn't emissions-free. See the irony there? In fact, research shows that electric vehicles effectively contribute to about the same footprint of a conventional gas-powered vehicle when you consider how the EV is produced and the energy that goes into making it is produced. After all, the energy has to come from somewhere, and that somewhere can be from a traditional source of energy like a coal-fired power station, for example. Specifically, electric cars carry something that impacts the environment negatively, and that is the battery pack. Many people forget to consider how battery packs are made and subsequently processed. Plus, as electric vehicles become even more mainstream, what do you think will happen when batteries get used up and it's time to replace them? Obviously, the rise of EVs mean we'll see a rise in the need for recycling batteries. EVs don't use a single battery like your smartphone. Instead, they use a pack that's made up of thousands of individual lithium-ion cells that all work together. When you're driving an EV, the battery pack undergoes cycles of discharge. When your EV is plugged in, it undergoes cycles of charge. Sounds obvious and straightforward. But the thing is, when you repeat this process over and over and over again, it impacts the amount of charge that the battery can hold.
Which we all see when we have our cell phones, and when you see the battery don't charge as much as with the cell phones. That's what I'm talking about. And people don't talk about that situation. Most of them just talk about the air fluff and the greatness, but there also is trade-offs.
In other words, over time, it decreases the range and the time needed to recharge the battery.
Which we're gonna get to talk about that. Another part of EV cars, a lot of these people don't talk about, and that's what I said. That's gonna be a major part that's gonna not push EVs as far as a lot of people think it is. The government think this is gonna be.
The current forecast is that the average EV battery can last 10 to 20 years before it needs to be replaced. But that's too wide of a range for me to be very accurate. So how long does it really last? Well, most EV makers offer a 5 to 8 year warranty on their battery. Conservative industry estimates for battery longevity in new EV stands at about 8 years or 100,000 miles. At first glance, you might think that's a long life, especially if you compare it to the battery of your smartphone, which can typically last only 2 years. But the thing is, during those 2 years, your smartphone might be fully charged and discharged hundreds of times. Each of these charge cycles reduces the battery's life. For example, after about 500 cycles, your smartphone battery begins to lose a huge part of its capacity compared to when it was brand new. And for the most part, that might be okay for a smartphone because statistically speaking, the average American upgrades to a new phone every 2.75 to 3 years.
Sadly enough, I wish I didn't have to do that. I had to upgrade my phone, not because of 3 years in that regard. It's because the whole 5G thing. That's what made me have to do that, which is unfair, but whatever. Keep on going.
That's why it's not a big deal, because people expect to get a new phone in a few years since phones get outdated so quickly. But smartphones and EVs are two completely different things. When it comes to cars, consider this. The average American gets a new car about every 12 years these days. And even then, think of the person who'll buy your used car. He'll continue to drive the used car for several more years. And the average car can have 3 to 4 owners in its lifetime, because the reality is that cars are designed to last hundreds of thousands of miles. Also consider this. The average lifespan of a gasoline engine is about 10 years or 200,000 miles. So in comparison, you can see that the standard EV battery life comes relatively short and isn't as long as many people think. Longevity aside, they say EV batteries need less maintenance than gasoline or diesel engines, so that's an upside for sure. But when you get to the point of needing to replace the battery, which according to Murphy's Law will happen just after the warranty expires.
Exactly. That's why. Not shocking at all.
The average cost of a new EV battery is just shy of $6,000. That's because the battery pack is one of the most expensive parts of an electric car.
And that's just for the battery pack. The cost to replace it, you might be paying maybe $10,000, maybe $12,000 with the labor.
Compare that to the cost of the internal combustion engine. Most cars in America are 4-cylinder engines, which can cost between $4,000 and $5,000 to replace. In the case of General Motors and the Chevrolet Bolt last year, the recall is massive on a global scale. So what did General Motors do? Well, they called Dick Spears. More than a decade ago, Spears had raised a question with GM about their plan for EV batteries when they malfunctioned or died. At that time, the question centered around Chevy's plug-in hybrid, the Volt. Evidently, at that time, GM didn't have a plan for end-of-life process of the batteries. So
Am I surprised? And right now, the government is giving them a lot of subsidies to make these cars. GM said by 2030, they're gonna have an all EV fleet. So you know what I'm gonna be? So that's a waste of our money. So they're gonna be our
taxes. Beautiful, lovely taxes.
Thanks for taking my money, asshole.
Basically, that's what we're going to do, tell the government.
Dirk Spears quickly saw the business opportunities and started handling the logistics of old EV batteries from every major U.S. car maker. Well, everyone except Tesla, of course, and he repairs and refurbishes used EV batteries. So, what does he do with the EV batteries that can't be fixed? He recycles and then stores them. In fact, his main warehouse has 30 feet tall shelves stacked full of batteries. Anyway, General Motors is working with Spears to send them their batteries. In an ideal world, those batteries will eventually be reused and recycled into infinity and beyond. But there are challenges with recycling. It's not an easy fix. Let's talk about recycling. With a traditional combustion engine car, the standard lead-acid battery is about the size of a toaster. But in a Chevy Bolt, the lithium-ion battery pack weighs 960 pounds and runs the full wheelbase of the car. So you can see it's no joke. Actually, let's put this in perspective. The average EV battery pack in general is so massive that some 40% of its recycling cost is the transportation cost alone. The packs are so huge that they have to be shipped by truck, not by airplane. And they require specially designed cases. The special transportation itself is quite labor and resource intensive. So
again, and now you can put electric trucks to this point. I'm not denying that, so we could go with that. But to lift the stuff out and all the stuff, ain't electric ain't doing that either.
It can exceed the cost of simply digging up the new materials from the ground and making a new battery pack from scratch instead of recycling. But it's not just the huge size and weight that makes it challenging. When it comes to combustion engine cars, some 95% of lead-acid batteries get recycled, which is incredibly high. And part of the reason is because they're relatively easy to dismantle. But
that's not bad, 95%.
When it comes to the electric car, each EV battery pack consists of dozens of components and hundreds of cells that are rather delicate, and each manufacturer has their own radically different designs. So disassembling an EV battery pack requires a very focused care and handling. Otherwise, it can lead to harmful fumes. Also, the voltages are lethal and can even lead to fires. So you can see it carries a lot of risk and danger as it is. And then, even if you got past that, extracting the valuable minerals from EV batteries is an expensive and difficult process. The only material that can be recycled profitably right now is cobalt because it's a rare mineral. Lithium and nickel are also valuable minerals that can be recycled, but they're less profitable. But let's back up and talk about lithium battery production. Lithium-ion battery was invented in the late 1970s. It's noteworthy for its large energy density and the ability to recharge quickly. It's the world's least dense metal and is also an integral part of the digital world, including mobile phones, tablets, and laptops. But
that's another thing I was talking about when these people try to push this narrative, all cars should be EV cars, whatever. The problem with that is then what we're gonna do for our other battery stuff. Like that also has its own infinite problems. That's what I said. We need to stretch it out and have multiple ways of our energy use. Because then you're gonna argue about, or like the light I'm using right now to shine on my face, it has a lithium battery. Of course, our cell phones, lithium battery. It has a battery inside of it. Computers have a battery in it so they could know the knowledge and keep the data of what day it is and all this stuff. There's so many things that uses battery. Gaming system uses battery. This Nintendo Switch uses a lithium battery. It's not as easy. And then when you add the cars and all this stuff, which needs bigger battery, and then of course you need a bigger battery for the gigawatt stations so the solar energy can happen. It's going to be crazy. Solar batteries, same thing.
The greatest potential for lithium-ion battery use is, of course, in electric vehicles. Analysts predict that 75% of all lithium mined will be used for electric vehicles by 2025, and that's just a few years away. Now, there isn't a shortage of lithium, but the problem is it's difficult to process. It also can't be stored for long periods of time. That's why it must be produced in smaller batches. All this requires large investments in lithium production infrastructure. So how exactly is lithium mined? Well, there's a couple of ways. It's either pumped from underground brine reservoirs called salars, and then extracted through a series of evaporation tanks. The South American country of Chile, for example, has the world's largest underground reserves. Another method is extracting from spodumene rocks. This method is mostly used in Australia. Globally, lithium production is roughly split equally between these two extraction methods. Most of the raw lithium used in the U.S. comes from Latin America and Australia, and most of it's processed and made into battery cells in China and other Asian countries. Lithium producers are hesitant to plan and invest more in expanding production, even as lithium prices continue to rise. This is because EV makers aren't willing to share their developmental plans with lithium producers. Without long-term commitments and contracts, production is limited to individual orders, which is impacting production on a global scale, despite the growing demand. So when car makers need lithium, it may not be readily available on demand. And remember, the metal can't be stored long term. So we're talking about a real bottleneck here. Last year, the global demand for lithium was about 320,000 tons. Most industry experts now expect the number to grow to 1 million tons in a few years by 2025, and even up to 3 million tons by the end of this decade. Current lithium battery technology hasn't changed much fundamentally since the early 1970s, and it only requires lithium in the cathode component. But next generation batteries like lithiation, solid state, and lithium metal anodes all require lithium on anode components of the battery. Also, solid state requires twice as much lithium as traditional technologies. And of course, the expectation is that future generation batteries will mean longer battery lives and better driving ranges between charges. Have you heard of Thacker Pass? It's public land in Humboldt County, Nevada. It's the largest lithium deposit in the U.S. and one of the largest in the world. It's also a proposed open-pit lithium mining development project. With any massive endeavor comes a lot of controversy, and there are plenty with this project. First of all, the lithium concentration of the ore is just 0.2%. To put that in perspective, you'd have to strip 500 tons of earth just to produce 1 ton of lithium. At full capacity, this mine will be able to produce more than 60,000 tons annually. That capacity is equivalent to 25% of the current global demand. So it's no small production. But what many fail to notice is that if they do this yearly, this means excavating 20 to 30 million tons of land per year. That's more than the annual amount of dirt that the U.S. digs every year to produce coal for the entire U.S.
See? And you're gonna need gas and oil to lift these things up.
Except for just 7 or 8 states. Also, to remove lithium from the ore, a notoriously corrosive and toxic sulfuric acid is used. To get this dissolver to work, they need to transport 75 tractor-trailer loads each day. And each of these run on fossil fuels that output carbon emissions. But it's not just that. There exist groups that have been resisting the project or legally challenging it. This includes several Native American tribes with traditional homelands in this area. They say it's a sacred site, also a massacre site, so that the U.S. Bureau of Land and management didn't adequately consult with them. Then, there's also concerns about the link between resource extraction and missing and murdered indigenous women. There's also concerns about threats to critical wildlife habitat. They're all legitimate concerns. Regardless of how this controversy pans out in the future, what we know is this. All in all, lithium-ion batteries require us to dig up a whole bunch of dirt. Then we need to dissolve it, acidify it. In other words, it scars and contaminates the earth. There's no way around it. So what's the lesser of the two evils? Those who say switching to electric vehicles will lead to cleaner energy and cleaner air to bring the planet back to life are only telling you half the truth. They're not telling you the ugly half. But now you tell me, what do you think of lithium production? Is it worth all this? Please share your...
And again, Scotty Kilmer, you can go check his channel, and that's one of my points I'm talking about. Nobody talks about the production side of this. You need the dirty energy to create the new energy, and sometimes the new energy cannot replace the dirty energy to get the new energy again. So that's the problem. It's a vicious cycle. They're not telling you all the truth. Now you see on the screen right there, I might gotta listen to this one. Biden's gonna make this illegal next year, so I might gotta check that out to see what it is. But again, Scotty Kilmer on YouTube, check it out. Very good mechanic, and he talks about stuff. He clickbaits a lot, but he does talk about the issues that normal people need to know about. And he does tell you how to fix your cars and stuff. I've learned a lot of stuff about cars from this man. So that's one. So that's the whole clean energy, whatever. And again, the one in Chile, they dump their brine water out on the ocean, in the Pacific Ocean. Not Pacific. Yeah, the Pacific Ocean, where they kill off life and everything, and they use the water from the mountains, which the indigenous people in Chile can't get. Their well water, everything is gone because they can't get the water. So it's not as clean as everybody talk about it. That's the point of doing this. That's what I'm saying. Let us have a legitimate talk about this situation. Okay, but let's talk about. So that's one thing. So let's talk about the other part of it. Let's talk about the reality of with a car. So this is this is TFL car. The fast lane car. I'm not gonna do the gas claim. This is basically the gas claim about the 90,000 unused oil leases. Which long story short, TLDR, the 9,000 unused oil leases is a lie, because not all those leases produces oil, and even if they do produce some oil, it still needs to make a pipeline, which again Biden said there's gonna be no pipeline. We're gonna have no pipelines. So they lied about, the oil companies have 9,000 oils and they don't use them. Well, they can't use all the leases, and the other part that they could control, then the White House don't want to give them that permit. So it's a lie. I might do it as a Straight No Chasers video, and for those who listen to audio stuff, Straight No Chasers is something where I just go straight. Sometimes it's a long video, but sometimes it's a short video as well too. I talk about everything from relationship to general talk about anything. That's what it is. So with that said, I'll do it next time. But let's because this one will take a while to talk about. This is gonna talk about now living with EVs, and people don't understand this.
Filling a gas-powered car is very simple, and the vast majority of Americans have been doing it for years. You pay using a credit card or cash, you push a button or two, stick a standardized nozzle into the filler, and well, off you go. Now in theory...
And that takes, like I said, that takes minutes to done. Then you go 400, 500 miles with that. EVs, different story, which this is why I wanted to play this for people.
Charging an EV is even simpler. Plug in the car and, well, wait a while. If you live somewhere with regular access to 240 volt power, it is possible to recharge in just a matter of hours. But the reality is...
Hours.
Most people don't have high voltage power in their garage, and furthermore, charging off a standard 120 volt outlet can take several days. While installing these 240 volt plugs is getting more and more affordable, home charging is usually not feasible for those who live in apartment complexes or don't have a garage.
That's the point I was pointing out with Pete Buttigieg, the Secretary of Transportation, and the Secretary of I forgot her name for Energy. Well, like, oh, if you have EVs, there won't be a problem. Okay, not everybody lives in homes. Not every house has a garage. They just say stuff. They just don't care.
So, if you fall into this boat, how do you keep your car charged?
Thank you.
Well, in the year 2019, charging stations seem to be popping up more frequently than update notifications on an iPhone. So with a swipe of the credit card and a standardized recharge plug, charging on the go should be simple, right?
Not really. And again, when Pete Buttigieg was saying about the charging stations, I did a video about this. I forgot which show I talked about it. I debunked that as well too. Cause when they talk about a charging station, they talk about like a station that has 2 plugs. When people need to not get it mixed up. A gas station has 3-4 gas pumps, which that has 2 sides in most cases, and so you could fill up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at the least amount, 8 cars, and again 15 minutes at the most, and you're off to the races. You're gone. This right here take hours to get a full charge, even on the high-speed ones. It takes hours to do that. And you're telling me, so I want to say, oh, I need to charge my car. I'm not home. I gotta charge my car. Then I got 2-3 hours to do something. Okay, that's all good, but then you do, like I said, some people could shop at malls and stuff like that. Yeah, but we know right now after the pandemic, a lot of malls shut down because people are buying stuff over online. Funny how that works.
Well, you see, not quite. This is called a charge point, and here in our city of Boulder, Colorado, it is by far the most popular company that supplies these charging stations for public use. And let me show you quickly how it works. So there's an app on your phone, you open it up, and there are literally hundreds in the Denver metro area. And if you zoom in, there's got to be 20, 30, 40 just here in Boulder, Colorado.
Remember, it's just a station with 2 pumps.
So the way it works is you click one of the charge stations, you can open it up in Google Maps, and it takes you here. But it's even cooler than that, because if I zoom in, I can actually click on the station itself and see if it's available. So this one has 2 stations. It says they're both available, which they are. And it says it'll charge at 5 kilowatts or about 15 miles an hour. So to start charging, it's just a matter of swiping your
2 stations. That's what I'm saying, which is the 2 plugs, but it's just one thing. That's what that gonna come back, because you're gonna see what I'm talking about.
Credit card, right? Unfortunately, no. There are dozens of companies who produce these chargers, but each one has their own account, their own payment method, and their own app. It's like if Sinclair, Shell, and Maverick made you sign up to their station before you could refill your tank. So here is how the charge point works. I have my credit card information plugged into my phone, and it actually uses, in my case, Apple Pay to get the charger going. Now you can also use a little swipe card if I had one, but because I have the app, that's what I'm going to use. So I simply hold my phone near the charge point, and there it goes. It's authorizing my credit card, which is stored in the app, and check that out. It clicks, and now my charger should be available like that.
Let's look at something right there. To use this charge station, contact the EV charger team for access, which they did. Station hours. Okay. Remember, it ain't like gas, so you could do stuff. So get this. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. is the hours you could use the station.
Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
So, while we have 24-hour gas stations, and there are EVs out there that have 24 hours as well. So I'm not, but again, Most of those EV charge station does that. Close it at 5 p.m. today.
It clicks, and now my charger should be available like
because they have to unlock it so that he could use it.
that. But immediately we come across another issue. Because remember how I said that all of these new manufacturers use a standard plug, the J1772 plug? Well, it looks like this. But unfortunately, I kind of lied to you because Tesla,
which is the biggest buyers of the EV market. Tesla I think it was like 70%, like outweighs Nissan Leaf. Let's see if we can find that. Let me see. Okay, that is who did this? Ain't no way. Ford out of the U.S. sales total. Okay, must be a worldwide. Okay, I was gonna say because it can't be just that. I know Tesla is the highest. Yeah, 53.79%. Like brand by sales. Yes, I was like, what are they talking about? I know Tesla's the highest one. Tesla's losing U.S. EV market shares, but gaining luxury shares too. This is why I said you can't. You gotta watch this stuff and do your research. Tesla is 66.6% of the market share. The hell. They lose, yeah, they are losing. They're losing, but not by a lot. Like the percentile people nitpick about. Good grief, this is mostly Tesla. Still, jeez, I wish people. This is why I say you got to do your research because a lot of people try their best to just spin it so it could be positive all the time. Again, I have no problem spinning positive stuff in there, but I just like I said, let's talk reality. Grown adults, let's have this conversation. Jeez.
their own proprietary plug, which really sucks. But luckily, there's a solution because included with the Model X was this little adapter. So if I plug my adapter into the Tesla, now I should be able to use this ChargePoint 1772 plug. I plug it in, it's flashing green. And now come take a look at this. If we look here on the screen, it'll actually tell us how fast we're charging and how much it's costing us. So there you can see 0.02 kilowatts, a little smiley face letting us know we're charging, and there's our current cost. So we've charged, well, nothing right now, but there goes 0.003 kilowatt hours. We've sped up to 1.19, 5.13 kilowatts. So now we are actually charging at a fairly decent rate, and you can see it's just plugging along. Today we're charging at 24 amps, and here in the Tesla, that means about 17 miles per hour. So every hour we gain about 16 to 17 miles of range.
You see that?
Where are you going to find these charge points? Well,
60 to 17 miles per hour. Oh, goody.
Well, they're kind of
I could get. Again, just letting you know.
All over, to be honest. Cities, governments, and parks may have them put into popular areas. In this case, we're in front of a residential complex, a big apartment complex. So this apartment complex had one installed here, but you may also find them in malls. You may find them at city centers. They're kind of all over the place. They're even, as we'll go check out next, in industrial areas. So you can see here on my phone, this is the charging rate, just under 6 kilowatts. We've added almost half a kilowatt hour, and it's estimated we've added about 1 mile to the Tesla. Now,
NANI?
1 mile.
Let's say we've been here for a couple hours and we're done charging. What do? Well, we simply go up here and click stop, and it sends a signal, in theory, to our little station and lets it know we're done charging. It's contacting station, it says. It's working at it. And there you go. It just stopped charging. Session stopped successfully. So now what I do is I simply come over here and unplug the vehicle. And you'll notice here, it'll actually give me little instructions with this cowboy dude. There it goes, and you can see it charged me 8 cents. We gained half a kilowatt hour of charge in 6 minutes. So I simply connecting it like that, and we're done. I'll get a receipt sent to my phone letting me know how much it'll cost. But how much does it cost? Well, it depends greatly, because the apartment complex or mall or whoever had the charger installed will typically set the rate. The interesting thing about these charge points is they all
Listen to that carefully. They will set the rate.
cost different amounts. So if I click on the one we just stopped at here,
Like I say, it's just like gas stations, so I'm not knocking that. But we know that we're going to do an average. But yeah, not knocking that as well too. So just being honest as well too with that.
you can see that the price is 15 cents per kilowatt hour. That means to recharge the Tesla halfway would cost about $7.50. While this is super affordable, at a rate of 15 miles gained per hour, it would take about 10 hours for half a charge.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
10 hours to charge. Who's gonna do that? When I could fill up my tank in 15 minutes and drive off for 500 miles. Now you see what I'm talking about. That's the problem with it, that again, the practicality is not there. So don't let the green people and don't let Pete Buttigieg tell you, oh yeah, if you this would have a problem if you had that. And the problem will be, which I'll wait until that part comes up, because there's a problem being that it's an apartment complex. There's also a problem we gotta talk about. Let's continue.
Let's take a look at the one in the industrial park we're going to next, which should be down here. Now this one is actually a little different. This one is going to be $1 per hour. So sometimes it's by the amount of power, sometimes it's set per hour. And you can see we have two available, so we should be good to go there next.
Again, remember, two available, which means 2 plugs. Okay? As you see right there, it's 1 plug with one station with 2 plugs.
So we're here at another charge point. This one is, I kept saying industrial area. This is a business park. But it's a very actually advanced business park. I'd say it's about probably 3 or 4 square miles, and they have like 12 of these charge point stations. So let's see what this one charges at, up to 6.6 kilowatts, I believe. There we go. Always starts out a little bit slow, and then it'll build up pretty quick. 1.6, 4.26, 5.38. Okay, so we're over 5. Let's see if we can get over 6. 5.75.
I don't know about that now.
5.85. I think we're coming close to maxing out. A couple of things to note is that because these charge points are typically commissioned by the mall or the park or the city or the developer where they're installed, they can actually set their own rules. So for example, the first charge point we went to, it said limited to residents and guests only. Of course, I was neither of those, and it still let me charge. They can
And that's why I wanted to stand out and talk about that, because again, the apartment says that. So think if all these cars was electric, how one, the price of the electricity would go up. 2, you would have to have an EV for every place to have, for every car, this charge station, so they could charge it, because again, it takes hours to charge a thing. And again, technology is going to make it, you're going to get faster and faster. But we're nowhere close to what is going to make it the way that these people talk in their minds.
actually even set their own hours, so you're kind of at the mercy of whoever had it installed. Overall, the charge points are actually very intuitive and surprisingly reliable, but what about some other charging companies? Now, one of my favorite applications is an app called PlugShare, and none of these companies today are actually paying us to say this. This is my honest opinion, but I want to give you guys a little bit of helpful information if you're thinking about buying an EV or if you already have one. So PlugShare is an app, kind of like a social media for outlets and charging stations, in that you open it up, it looks like a Google Map sort of, but there are just thousands of outlets and chargers and superchargers and Tesla superchargers and fast chargers. It's just a whole bunch of charging opportunities. And it actually brought me to this one. Now, this is another company. This one's made by a company called Charge Pro through SEMA Connect. And this one's gonna work just a little bit differently. The cool thing about PlugShare,
and that has only one charge. That's one charge station with one plug. Good.
Is that in this case, it actually works with the station and I don't have to go into a separate app. So I open up my PlugShare app like this. Like I said, there are just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stations, but here is one of the suggestions. It's actually the one we're at right now. Gun Barrel Center Apartments, and there is a picture of the plug. You can see people have posted about their experiences. Arnisha had a good experience. Drew had a good experience, so I know it should be okay. I can see it's a J1772, and the cost is $1 an hour for the first 4 hours and $2 an hour for the next 4 hours.
And $5 afterwards.
Yeah, I'm
goes
stuck.
Up.
So one of the issues with these charging stations intended for all new vehicles and not just Tesla is they're typically positioned at the front of the vehicle, because a lot of new cars charge at the front, but Tesla's way at the back, so I'm gonna have to back in and try it again. All right, let's try charging with the Charge Pro. So same procedure, same J1772 plug, so Tesla adapter and then the plug. Now here's a challenge. There are literally dozens of charging companies out there, and they all have their own separate apps, they all have their own separate interfaces, so a ChargePoint app is not going to work on this device. But PlugShare, the app I use to find the station, should, so let's see if that works. I've got it all plugged in. Let me open up my PlugShare here. There's the station. It's a little bit off in terms of location, but I'll try it anyways. Pay with PlugShare. My credit card information is all plugged in. So this is going to be, oh man, this is where it gets a little bit kind of unintuitive. I think this is building 14 in this complex, and it's going to be 14 north. So let me try activating it. Activating station. Please make sure your car is plugged in. Yeah, so this is the issue. We've got one company, which is PlugShare, trying to talk to another company, giving them my credit card information to start the charging, and it's all done over the internet. So,
oh, that's a great thing that's gonna happen for the future, of course.
So sometimes it doesn't work as well as just going to the individual charging stations app and doing it that way. So unfortunately, I couldn't get PlugShare to connect to the station and start the charging. It says timeout, credit card pre-authorization will be moved. So we're gonna try one that's just a little bit down this parking lot and see if we have any better.
There you go.
Okay, so round 2 with the Charge Pro. I think that's what it's called, yeah, Charge Pro. So far, no luck, but this is our second attempt. This one feels slightly more promising. So pay with PlugShare. Okay, we're plugged in. It says authorized. Ah, we're going. So second time is the charm. We have a green blinking light there.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Now we don't have a very nice.
That's gonna be fun for when you guys gotta go and figure out all this mess and everything. Now this is a point where, and you're gonna see more of this, but I'll state it now and I'll state it then when it comes up. This is where I say the government does do a point where we do need to make it more simpler. I don't want the government to control it, but at least make a law so they can make stuff more simple. Like how we have the USB, like how we have USB-C now as the simple plug for mostly everything. Not all, but everything. And most people buy it and doing that. That's what we need to get to that point. That's where the government comes in, and I accept the government for that.
LCD display like we did on the last one, the charge point, but you can see the kilowatt hours increasing, and then we're charging at about 5.6 kilowatts. So that's classic level 2. Level 2 is typically between 5 and 6 kilowatts. So the PlugShare app using the Charge Pro here did connect, and we did managed to start charging the Tesla. Thus far, we have showcased level 2 chargers, and while they are increasingly popping up across the US, they are still far too slow for most who need to charge more than 15 miles of range in an hour. The solution?
15 miles per range per hour. Okay. All right.
DC fast charging. It's now.
This goes back to that video where the guy who was a Tesla was saying, oh, when they had the traffic grid in Virginia. It's like, oh, see, if you didn't have no, again, I could bring a gas tank, a 3 or 5 gallon gas can, put it into my car, and I could get, because I get 34 miles per gallon in my car on the average. That's the medium. If on the highway is about 40, I could go places and get gas again, and it will be quicker than the EV. That's the part that killed me when the guy was saying, I'm like, dude, think. I know critical thinking is out of America, but think.
Time for level 3. This is called DC fast charging, and level 1 and 2 are AC chargers, so alternating current. That's the current that you get out of your standard wall plug. Now these are DC or direct current chargers. On level 2 we topped out about 5 or 6 kilowatts. Check this out. Level 3, 50 kilowatts. Pretty wild, but there are some issues with level 3 charging, and I'll show you what that is. So this is a company called EVgo. EVgo does fast charging, and especially here in our town, they're kind of the only player for fast charging that isn't a Tesla supercharger. So to make it happen, I have to open the EVgo app. Now I'm going to show you the different types of plugs. There's actually 3, unfortunately, different types of DC charging plugs, and they don't necessarily play with each other. So the first kind is called CHAdeMO. Now this is a CHAdeMO plug, and it's completely different from the Tesla plug. It's completely different from the J1772 plug. This is a DC fast charger plug you'd find on something like a Nissan Leaf, or maybe even something older like a Mitsubishi i-MiEV. These seem to be kind of going out of favor slowly. For a Tesla, you have to get a special adapter to use this CHAdeMO plug, and it's this big kind of beefy thing that would plug into the back of the car. I don't have one of those, unfortunately, but it is possible to charge a Tesla using this plug. However, this next one, it is not possible to use. This is called a CCS plug, and this is also a fast charge plug. However, Tesla won't sell you a CCS to Tesla adapter, which is a shame. But what's funny is that in Europe, Tesla actually uses this very plug. So unfortunately, it varies based on country as well. But you'd simply plug this into the car and get up to 50 kilowatts of charging speed. In the real world, a charger like this will allow you to regain, about 100 or so miles of charge in about 30 minutes.
That's not bad. I could work that, but still, 30 minutes. I could fill up my tank in 10 to 15 minutes and get way more.
It's similar to a supercharger, just, well, if I'm being honest, quite a bit slower. And speaking of superchargers, this solution is by far the easiest and...
See, even Tesla, even on that, they let you tell, only 40 minutes of charger maximum.
For most of us, the fastest way to recharge. That third plug I mentioned is the Tesla specific plug that only works with Tesla cars. A supercharger requires no apps or credit card. Simply plug in the Tesla and charge at speeds of 2, 3, even 400 miles of range gained every hour. Tesla then remotely bills your Tesla account. Super simple, but you're kind of out of luck unless you have a Model S, Model X, or Model 3 that will allow you to supercharge. There you have it.
Yeah, because not all the cars can supercharge.
Have it. A quick look at different types of fast chargers. Now, let me know in the comment section below, do you think you can live like this? I mean, I think it all depends on the city. A place like Boulder, charging stations are super prevalent. These DC fast chargers are changing the game, so I'm very excited and I'm happy to say that yes, you absolutely can. But More rural areas where EV Goes or charge points or any other company is less prevalent, it might be kind of hard. You may be stuck charging at home. Here is the ultimate challenge that manufacturers face converting internal combustion customers to EVs. According to Toyota, the largest automaker in the world, and a recent poll they did of customers, they discovered 34% of respondents were not positive battery electric vehicles did not have an internal combustion engine. So in other words, 34% of people they surveyed were not entirely sure whether or not EVs had a gas or diesel engine. And while many of you watching are probably car enthusiasts who are completely aware that BEV vehicles or battery electric vehicles have no gas engine and may even be willing to tolerate juggling 4 or 5 apps and potentially a charging adapter to keep your cars charged, many people like my mom and my general family just simply won't have the understanding or the bandwidth to go through this process.
And I just wanted to put a claim there because, again, that's the average person who would know about this stuff like that. So he's correct. And that's why I state what I state. Again, certain people that will happen with. All people? No, it's not going to happen. And again, there's even more. EVs have a special kind of coolant that you have to keep clean and replace as well too. It's not fluid free. We have fluid free as well. And we already know that a lot of people do not take care of their cars. So you think they're going to take care of the EVs? Hell, I saw a video with this Tesla that was just grotesque how this woman took care of her Tesla car. And again, if you don't take the battery charger like Scotty says, because there are times where you could get a bad battery, a bad stock of battery, and you got to go to pay, again, $10,000 to get the battery out of the car. I'm telling you, we're not there yet. That's all I'm saying. We're not there. I'm not saying we should not try to that, but the crazy part of we are not that the world, that America is ready to have this, as Kamala Harris said. Imagine that we have net zero and all cars and trucks and everything was that. You imagine it, and we're going to try to do it in the Biden administration. No, you're not. No, you're not. Ain't going to happen. Don't feel me a crock. Right? So, again, that's the problem. I just put a logical talk about the green energy. I'm not against it, but I think we should use, again, with the green energy, we should use the nuclear energy. We could still use coal. Do as best as you can to bring it down, but we're still gonna use coal. We're gonna still need petroleum. We're gonna still need natural gas. Let's do thermal. Let's do geo. Let's do hydroelectric. Let's do all these things and spread out the uses of these things. Because again, just like oil is infinite, the thermal battery, the lithium and cobalt, all that stuff also that. And we didn't even talk about all the mines where they have children and stuff mining these things to get cobalt, so much stuff, just like they do it with the gas and all that stuff. It's not a clean energy, and it's not a clean human energy because we use a lot of slave labor to get these cobalt, lithium, all that stuff from China to Africa. So again, no, let's not pretend that. All right. So I want to again thank you guys out there for giving me your time, your mind, your eyes, your ears to listen to what I'm saying. Keep an open mind on things, because again, you know how I state things. So again, apologize for the show, how it started. I forgot that I'm recording for new stuff. Of course, thanks for all the new people, all the new platforms that's joining the Project Open Mic family. I really appreciate it. You live. Nico Corney, and of course all the audio podcasts from Stitcher and Spotify and Anchor and hopefully Apple Podcasts as well too. Well, thank you guys for listening to what I have to say. And this month is the 20th anniversary of T3 Records, which is the company I started. And this is what Project Over Mike is. That we had a radio show before, a project that was a commercial success, but because of certain topics I talk about, it got shut. Basically, I didn't renew it after 4 years of successfulness because of the topics I talk about. Funny how that works. So Project Over Mike is a ground up show. So of course, hopefully by the end of the month, you should see Project Over Mike. Hope you guys could again share, promote, talk, comment on YouTube, on Facebook, whatever. Subscribe to YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. On Uplay, on Twitch TV, and Twitch. All that. Just help us out in the algorithms and help spread the word more, so you can help people out there understand the issues that we talk about at the day. All right. With that said, remember, evil comes in all shapes, size, color, creed, height, sexuality. Evil is evil, and as Nancy Pelosi just basically put out, like I always say, rich will stay rich, the poor will still fight for the crumbs, and the middle class will get screwed over, which is suck. And last but not least, as usual, people are stupid, individuals smart. Be that smart individual. This is your boy Tig for Project Open Mic. Catch us out next tomorrow for the side chat. And okay, straight no chasers. All right. Remember, you can check us live for those on the audio part. If you want to see the videos and see the visuals that I did, Project Open Mic. You go to the Project Open Mic on YouTube, TT Records on Facebook, and Tempo FM, and Twitch and Project on Twitch TV. All right. Y'all have a good night. Take care of yourself. Peace out. Catch you next time.